that became a big part of Raw and a big part of WWE, like Master Lock Challenge, who's going to break it? Flair, Val Venus, Slaughter, like a bunch of guys, Stevie Richards. I mean, a bunch of guys try to do it, but it became a big part of Raw. Did you kind of feel the momentum shifting, like you really getting over with the crowd?
Slowly, slowly. I think the moment I kind of realized that we had really gone somewhere with it was when we were able to use it as a main event on Raw with Shawn Michaels, and just to see how much people got into it. And again, they're so invested in HBK because of who he is, but it also told me that the hold had been built really well for it to actually be able to be in a main event of Raw and really kind of draw up the reaction it did. So that was, I think, the moment where I really realized, at least first initially realized it. But then you had other moments like, again, the YouTube video, seeing that,
Yep.
certain little things like that. And then you just realize, oh, a lot of people are doing this. Like, I could almost see eighth the eighth grade version of myself doing it in the hallway at high school to one of my friends. It was like, oh, that would have been me probably.
Yeah. The funny thing is with Michaels, like you were, a big fan of him. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You get to feud with him, and you're, a hero basically.
Oh, totally. That was exactly what that was. It was like that for me was like, imagine just any kid, like a kid grew up idolizing Michael Jordan and then breaks into the NBA and even more so gets to play him in the NBA finals. Because to me, outside of winning the world championship, kind of the highest accolade was either to win the world title or to be able to wrestle Shawn Michaels on a pay-per-view event, because he was just the man when it came to pay-per-view. Like he gave you pay-per-view caliber matches. And so
Yep.
to me, that was the highest honor. And I just know that when going into that situation, I just couldn't get out of my head. I'm like, man, you got to make sure you bring it come pay-per-view day, because you don't want this to go down. You don't ever want to look back at this and know that you were the only guy to have a bad pay-per-view match with HBK.
That's definitely got to be nerve wracking too, because you've seen most of the matches too. You're like, damn, this was good. This was good.
I've
Every
seen
match
all of
has
them.
great.
No,
Yeah.
I'd seen all of them. So that's exactly what I was weighing. I was like, I couldn't imagine if I was the guy who stunk up the joint with Shawn. But I just knew that wasn't going to happen, just because it just meant so much to me, the opportunity. And, I had already had the opportunity to work with Shawn Michaels on a lot of live events before that. So there was already a comfort and some chemistry. And there's just something about working your favorite wrestler that's, at least in my experience, was the absolute easiest, because you just know even without even thinking all their little nuances. Their comeback as well as any of yours, and you're just excited to feed their comeback as you would to be giving your own comeback if you were the babyface. So it was just, but again, it's also about who he is as a talent. He's just, that's the easiest guy to have a great match with, because of his skill and because of the investment the audience had in him, because of all the years of content and matches that he had given.
How was he backstage at this point? Years before he had his issues. Here he seems like a changed man. Was he easy to deal with backstage?
Yeah, I can't. I've heard about the other Shawn, but I never met the other Shawn. I only met the guy who had come back, who was very much a changed man, and very much a family man, very much very religious. And I think I was happy to meet that version. I mean, it might have been devastating to meet the other Shawn, at least coming from my standpoint, a guy who grew up, using him as kind of a muse, or an idol, so to speak, or hero. Um, for me, my two main sports inspirations were, Shawn Michaels and Kobe Bryant, and still to this day. So I just think, yeah, he was great with me. And like, I think part of that, I don't know for sure, but I think part of that is I just tried to clear the air with him right from the get go and let him know kind of what he meant to me, as far as his influence on me as a kid, just so he just kind of knew that if I say anything out of school, just know that I don't mean that. I think the world
Right.
of you, type thing. So
He's probably thinking too, like, oh, I got to have a good match with this guy. He's my biggest fan. I better have a good match with him.
I don't even know if he thought like that. You know what I mean? And who knows? I know I told him that, but I mean, I might have tried to even play it cool a little bit after that. I don't know for sure, but um, I think it was easy for him to have like a good match with me just because, again, I mean, I was 275 pounds and like him, he's such a great seller. I mean, just it's just such an easy story. And it was such a contrast, actually. You know, he just come out of the program with Hulk Hogan. So you've got, you know, Hulk Hogan, who's, you know, obviously a veteran and, you know, is a much different place in his career. And then now you've got like a young guy being me, 21-year-old, who's, you know, I'm not to say I'm as big as physical wise as Hulk Hogan, but I obviously was a physical specimen, you know.
Yes,
So,
yes,
but it, you know, I was also willing to do anything that Shawn wanted and just wanted to learn from that. So coming from working Hulk Hogan to working a young guy like me, I got to imagine is a very interesting contrast for even him.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video, then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at the Hannibal TV for more live streams and videos. And while you're at it, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Hannibal TV.